All right, so today I wanted to talk a little bit about rules for radicals. It's something I've brought up before, and I think it is a lot of relevancy to today, specifically the whole virus situation. Specifically, I think Rule 9, but some other ones as well. And again, if you don't know rules for radicals, again, it was written by Saul Alinsky, who is kind of a far left, kind of crazy guy. But again, long story short, there is still a lot of these politicians that I mean, namely the Clintons that are, indirectly, directly affiliated with him and have talked about how much they like the guy. And if you once you read these rules, it will start to become very clear that a lot of these modern day politicians, this is their basically their playbook, So anyway, number one, power is not only what you have, but what the enemy thinks you have. Power is derived from two main sources: money and people. Have-nots must build power from flesh and blood. Now, again, this is how the political system stays so powerful because, again, um, they don't have nearly as much power as what people think they have, right? They don't have nearly as much power as what people think they have. I mean, take the whole virus situation. If 10 or 20% of people said, "F you, we're not following these rules," the entire thing would be pointless, right? It would be pointless if 10% of businesses that have been shut down open back up. It would be enough to completely destroy their stupid lockdowns, right? But so again, the power is derived upon what people believe. The power isn't again, it's the classic when you're strong appear weak and when you're weak appear strong strategy when it comes to war, right? Because that's how you win this kind of stuff, right? So number two, never go outside the expertise of your people. It results in confusion, fear, and retreat. Feeling secure adds to the backbone of anyone. And again, this is another one that they try and do. Again, feeling secure adds to the backbone of anyone, right? In that, again, when it comes to the lockdowns, right, they've convinced, it seems like the majority of the population, that the lockdowns are controlling the spread and it's leading to a reduction in cases and all this kind of stuff. When in reality, that's not true. Like again, when in reality, it's not true. Number three, whenever possible, go outside the expertise of the enemy. Look for ways to increase insecurity, anxiety, and uncertainty. Now, again, this is another classic tactic that they use when you're debating these people. Is that they'll always say, "Oh, you're not a doctor, or you're not this, or you're not that." Again, rather than worrying about the topic at hand, they try and cite credentials or point out that you don't know what you're talking about, or I have a political science degree. You have no idea what you're talking about. Um, Again, this is another way too. That I think this is one of the most powerful things that they've done when it comes to this whole virus situation. Is that I talk to people, some people that I know that I respect to some degree when it comes to this situation, and they're at least decent when it comes to their critical thinking skills and stuff, and that. But when it comes to their opinion on this stuff, it's, "Oh, I don't know. It doesn't seem like the lockdowns are working, but I don't know." Like again, this is how they get people. Another way they get people. Um, Number four, another very important one. Make the enemy live up to its own book of rules. If the rule is that every letter gets a reply, send 30,000 letters. You can kill them with this because no one can possibly obey all of their own rules. Again, like I mean, look at with the whole these UCP politicians that have gotten caught recently, right? This has been the biggest story in the news over the last week or two. But was it a big story in the news when Patty Haydu was doing the same thing? Was it a big story in the news when Justin Trudeau spent Christmas with his family? Has it been as big of a story in the news when almost exclusively Democratic politicians haven't been following their own rules in the states? No, they don't care about that. So again, it's entirely exploiting the other side's goodwill and the other side's morals and ethics, right? So number five, ridicule is a man's most potent weapon. There's no defense. It's irrational. It's infuriating. It also works as a key pressure point to force the enemy into concessions. So again, this is another thing they do. Like you bring up the stats, you bring up the data, and they immediately retreat to, again, they go back to the trying to cite your credentials BS, or they'll just insult you, right? They'll just insult you in that, oh, you want people to die, and again, even though that's not true, um, you know, not wanting lockdowns, there's no clear correlation between lockdowns and a reduction in cases or deaths. So again, not wanting lockdowns doesn't mean you want people to die, but again, in these people's fantasy world, it does, right? So that's why they do that. A good tactic is one your people enjoy. They'll keep doing it without urging and come back and do it more. They're doing their thing and will even suggest better ones. Number seven, a tactic that drags on too long becomes a drag. Don't become old news. Again, this is another thing that they exploit. This is another actually this all this stuff is very smart. It's an incredible good way to manipulate people's emotions and psychology. The problem is that it's in a bad way. It's usually in a bad way, at least when it comes to this stuff, and that this is how they've gotten away with telling people to not wear a mask and then turn around and tell people to wear masks. This is how they've gotten away with telling people that borders don't work, and then now we have to have even stricter borders than before. This is how they've gotten away with telling people that, oh, once we get a vaccine, we'll be good to go, and then now that we have a vaccine, it seems like we're worse than ever. Again, like this is how they get away with it, because again, they know that the average person's attention span is so short that it's not even funny, so they can get away with this kind of stuff. Eight, keep the pressure on, never let up, keep trying new things to keep the opposition off balance. As the opposition masters one approach, hit them from the flank with something new. Again, this is another classic tactic that they've used throughout this whole quote unquote pandemic. Um, and then again, right when the numbers seem to become overly obvious, that again, this is another thing too, that this new strain, this super, what, right when it's showing that again the lockdowns in the UK have been a complete failure, the lockdowns in Canada have been almost exclusively a complete failure. I mean, namely in Ontario, Quebec, and Manitoba. So again, now that again the only logical conclusion after another round of failed lockdowns you'd think would be to open up, right? But then now there's another strain. Ooh, then this one's all going to kill us, right? So this is how they're doing that. And then number nine, this is one of the most important ones, I think. The threat is usually more terrifying than the thing itself. Imagination and ego can dream up any more consequences than the activity itself. Again, this is one of the key things when it comes to this whole virus. The threat is usually more terrifying than the thing itself. Again, um, the if you're not in a nursing home, it's no different than the flu. And again, for people under 50, the flu is even more deadly. Again, so this is the thing. The threat is more deadly than the terrifying thing itself. I don't think that they could have summed it up even better, right? I don't think they could have summed it up even better, because anybody that's even remotely paying attention should be able to figure it out. But again, because there's so much propaganda being spewed out there, people can't figure it out, right? So number 10, the major premise for tactics is the development of operations that will maintain a constant pressure upon the opposition. It is this unceasing pressure that results in the reactions from the opposition that are essential for success of the campaign. Number 11, if you push a negative hard enough, it will push through and become a positive. Violence on the other side can win the public to your side because the public sympathizes with the underdog. Again, that's another thing the left loves doing, namely with like Antifa and all this kind of stuff. Um, Number 12, the price of successful attack is a constructive alternative. Never let the enemy score points because you're caught without a solution to the problem. And this is another one that they've been doing a lot with the virus, is that they've had the solutions to the problems before the problems have even came up, right? They've had the solutions to the problems before the problems have even came up. And this is another reason why the left is so successful, because they create these problems or allow these problems to get out of hand. They already have the solutions, and boom, the problem comes up. They already have the solution right ready to go. The mainstream media pumps out all the propaganda for them, and people fall for it, right? People fall for it. Number 13, pick the target, freeze it, personalize it, and polarize it. Cut off the support network and isolate the target from sympathy. Go after people and not institutions. People hurt faster than institutions. Now, again, this is another one that the left loves doing with this situation. with the whole, you wanna open up because you want people to die. No, nobody believes, like literally nobody. I've heard of some people that have some pretty crazy theories and pretty crazy ideas when it comes to this whole situation. I've never heard that from anyone, right? So again, this is how they win. This is how they win, and essentially it's just playing dirty. Like essentially it's just playing dirty. So anyway, that's what I wanted to bring up because again, I read through these the other day, and I just thought to myself, this is textbook what they're doing with the whole virus situation. At least most of these, right? At least most of these. This is how they become so successful. It's by using stuff like this, and this is the tool. This is what most of these left-wing politicians, whether it's and even a lot of the right-wing politicians, but mostly the left-wing politicians. I mean, any politician that supports these lockdowns is definitely guilty of this, which is probably as many conservatives as it is liberals and NDPers, at least in Canada. Um, this is what they are guilty of, and this is the tactics that they use for success. So anyway, that's what I wanted to bring up today. So if you like the video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe. If you haven't already, make sure you check out those links below. Follow me on those other platforms if you haven't already. Um, if you want to donate, you can do that as well. Again, I appreciate whatever support I can get. But like I say, at the very least, just hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned for more.